What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk. It's Sunday, July 20th, and we're here to discuss yesterday afternoon's somehow uneventful and very eventful 0-0 draw against that lot from down Route 6. Some would call it Schrodinger's Derby. Just a reminder that each episode of Tide Talk is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching this, please hit the thumbs up button as it helps the YouTube algorithm show Tide Talk to more people. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you're listening there, we'd really appreciate it if you left us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. One last plug, if you are not already on the RIFC Club Collector app, sign up and enter code TIDETALK25, all one word, to get an exclusive pack to add to your collection. So everybody, let's cozy up. Let's crack a beer. That was a rough one. And let's dive into this one. I'm Ryan, and I will be your host tonight, and I am joined by a council of ball knowers here. We'll start with Mr. Andrew Quadros. Andrew, how has your Sunday been?
Sunday's been good. It's been a busy day. Just anything to kind of take your mind off of the results of yesterday is helpful, but it's been good.
Absolutely. And Mr. Matt Hands, welcome back. How are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good.
Are you doing better or worse than the USL who made that cursed kit that you're wearing?
Yeah. So I'm wearing the cursed Frank Nadarce shirt, where assuming the front was supposed to have an RIFC logo in like this silver and it's supposed to be on the back, and then it just came on the front. So I don't know. Maybe superstition, it turns things around by wearing it on the pod. No idea. Gotta try something. So
listen, at this point, I think all of us would appreciate all sorts of trying because the team needs to mix it up in all sorts of ways. But yeah, I guess we'll just dive into this one. I think tonight's going to be a bit of a therapy session for a lot of us. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unpack. I'm intrigued to see where this goes. And please, if you're in the chat, it's live, and please get your thoughts and your opinions in there. But yeah, leading up to the match, I know there's a lot of spaces, a lot of content, a lot of everything coming out. Some fantastic documentaries by the USL, which was really cool, highlighting the big match. But Andrew, how are you feeling like leading up to the match?
Nervous. I mean, Matt Hands has kind of mentioned it in a couple of his blogs lately. This felt like a key game, not just because it's the derby, but also, excuse me, because the team just hasn't been performing well, and we're getting to a stage in the season where they need to start putting good performances together and getting results. And regardless of the fact that it's Hartford, you're playing the last place team in the league. You're trying to fight for playoff position. This is a key game. You drop points against Birmingham, who you were neck and neck with for a playoff spot. You lost against Indy, who you were neck and neck with for a playoff spot. So this just felt like one where at some point this has to turn if we're going to make it. So they just felt like there was more importance to this one outside of just the fact that there was a big rivalry at play. And Hartford lately has been playing better, and we haven't really turned it around. So I wasn't feeling confident. Like if you asked me a month ago, even through our struggles, I would say I'm still not that worried about it. But leading up to it, I wasn't confident, and I was worried about what would happen if we didn't get the result that we needed.
Yeah, what do you think, Hans?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think coming into the game, I was like, it was one of those where like early in the week, you're negative off of the Indy result, and then later in the week you get more positive. That's kind of how I usually roll. But yeah, it's tough. Like I guess I don't know. I wasn't ever really concerned or worried going in that we were going to lose, but I really just wanted something to happen. Like either we win by a lot, or I would never want us to lose, but almost like lose or have a bad performance, so I could at least be like, okay, now I know the team. I'm out on the team, or I'm really in on the team, and obviously, it kind of sort of neither really happened. So, yeah, that's kind of how I felt, though.
Yeah, I mean, likewise. I mean, to Andrew's point, if you talk to me either ahead of the match or in the parking lot or anything, I was secretly very nervous for this one. Hartford's been better than their record throughout the year. If you look at like their underlying statistics, we have been just as bad as we all thought we were going into it. So I was nervous. I've said this. I also was very nervous, like the way the club was marketing this one. I am not one who's been loving the we are so much superior than Hartford that we should antagonize them left, right, and center. I understand it's marketing. I understand it's a derby. I understand it's supposed to be fun. But I just been nervous because I am very scarred by goals galore still, and how that one was just a big time unforced error. But yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts on the kind of the pre-build up to this one?
No, that's the main thing. I I was fearful of a loss. Like I did go into this thinking it was a significant possibility because we haven't seen much from the team to tell us that a loss or a drop result wasn't coming. And with that buildup that you talked about, it did make me nervous. For the same reason I was nervous going into the goals galore game. I'm like, Miami doesn't suck this year. They're scoring, and the irony is, in our new home, we can't score a goal to save our lives. So
Yeah.
the goals galore thing didn't really make me feel good going into that match, and kind of the same thing here with the Hartford match.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, spoiler alert for everyone who's watching. I'm assuming you were aware. We still cannot score a goal here, but what do you think, Haynes?
No, yeah, I was gonna say I think the goals galore thing was worse, much worse than the Hartford marketing. Like, I kind of expected the Hartford marketing to be, about the history, even though we have more history than they do, pretty much after one season, more success for sure. And So I'm not surprised they did that. They did the chip video, like throwing his phone on the ground when he saw Dylan. Like, I think that stuff's fine. Yeah, I'm kind of all for it. I don't. Although I will say, end of the broadcast, they had Joe Farrell, they had JJ on, and then they had Farrell on from Hartford on the field, and Farrell did mention those marketing, the clips and stuff, kind of being extra motivation for them. So maybe I don't know. There's an argument, I guess, there to be made. Maybe hold off on that stuff, but for me, I still like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a little more worried about Farrell calling something, bulletin board material if he actually had the ability to show up in a game like this. But we'll move on from that. So next up, I guess we can move on to the tailgate, and I have to say the vibes were absolutely immaculate there. I think the highlight for all of us was meeting Scott in person. Scott from Wales was in the house. Very fun meeting Scott. But yeah, how did everyone think the vibes were at the tailgate?
Yeah, I think it was good. Yeah, Sarah had the jello shots, pudding shots as always. So that was
Always have to shout out
great.
Sarah for those. Fantastic.
Yeah, good meeting Scott too. Like you said, it seemed like there's a lot of excitement, a lot of people there. Even more than normal, it seemed like anyway, or felt like. So yeah, I mean, great vibes, just what you want to see going into a derby. And I thought it was kind of funny when the Hartford fans bus pulled up, everyone went over, was yelling at them, and in good fun, of course. So yeah, good vibes.
Yeah, AQ, did you get to partake in any trunk wine?
No, I got there too late. I didn't think I got
So
there
did I
that late
as well.
too, but I
Yeah,
seeked out Kevin, and he was like, "Oh no, it's gone." It was gone
To
immediately.
be fair, I don't know if Kevin left a drop of trunk wine for anybody else, but yeah.
Yeah,
No, it
That
was
was my
gone. I
big
had
disappointment on the day.
it was gone immediately. I had like a cup and a half. Sarah had a cup. Obviously, Scott had some. He was passing it around, but it went really fast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I said this to Scott yesterday. I think the biggest shock was that he was actually carrying a cooler. I figured he would have left his beers out in the sun to bake, like normal, but he said he wanted to appease the American audience. So
He did a good job with that. He was also offering me beers there. He was probably just trying to pass off the coldest ones he had available, so he didn't have to drink it.
it's a good
It was
beer.
great.
I took one from him. So
Yeah, it was great getting to meet Scott. Also got to see Phoenix Chuck again. I hadn't seen him probably since the Colorado Springs final game. So he's one that travels to a lot of the games, particularly the ones on the West Coast or in the Western Conference. But he's been out here for a bit, so it was good to see him again. And just a lot of people were in that tailgate. They were in it early. I think the march to the match probably had, I would say, probably the most people we've had since the home opener, maybe the Revs game, but really since early on in the year. So it was great. I think a lot of people had a lot of energy. The weather was beautiful. The vibes were high, so it was fun. It felt appropriate for the level of importance of this game in terms of it being a derby, and everybody was into it.
absolutely. And I think the last bit of pregame content here was the march in. And I have to say, the Defiance, everybody did a really fantastic job. People were there. They were on time. We had all the drums going. We had all the flags going. The train horn was train horning and a lot of pyro to be had. So what do you guys think of the march in? Andrew.
Yeah,
you can go ahead.
yeah.
I'm a little rusty on my host game here.
No, it's all good. I thought Matt was going to say something. So no, it was great.
No,
it was like I mentioned. It was the energy level and the number of people there kind of matched where we were at the beginning of the season. I think stopping underneath the bridge and firing off all those fireworks and smokes and everything was great. A lot of new flags. People were really into it. I think we really, excuse me, we really made a scene in a good way. So it was fun. I mean, I go to these games with my son and my dad, and both of them were super into it. And I'm talking up, to Will, like, this is what a derby is. This is the importance of it. These are our rivals. This is the energy that you have to bring to the match. And I think he was pretty blown away just seeing everything that was going on around them. There was so much happening. The energy level was really high. It was a great atmosphere, so he was enjoying it.
Absolutely. And what do you think, Hans?
Yeah, looked good. I took the bus in, but got to chat with some people on the bus, which is always good. New people, which is always good. Always got to preach, the gospel of RIFC to the new fans coming for first time. And yeah, got there. Got there to see the march coming in. Got there early enough to get some chip bobbleheads, which is great. That was one of the main goals. Yeah, there you go.
Oh my
so
God.
yeah,
Andrew, you're
good,
just like a little
good
Where's
stuff.
Waldo?
Yeah, true. Yeah, good stuff all around. Good positive vibes going in, and like people are saying, Tifo A+.
Yeah, I mean, the vibe, I think you said it, Matt, earlier. Like, I was really nervous, but as the day went on, I was getting more and more excited. I think I gave shout out to Archie. He was in the march, and he was like, "What do you think about today?" And my score prediction is coming up and up every half hour of how many goals RFC was going to score, which I think is partially due to the jealous shots and partially, just the vibes there. But yeah, I think great march in. The TiVo is fantastic. The one like very underrated part, besides getting the chip bobblehead of getting there early, pretzel line was like so manageable at that point. I was able to get a pretzel, a beer. I still had like a half hour to kill. I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself with all the free time I had.
Yeah. That's the move. The move is get there, get a pretzel right away, and then go to seats and get ready.
This is the earliest I've ever gone into the stadium, and it was nice. Like we got to our seats, and it was like no one else around.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, "Do you want to just walk around the stadium? We haven't actually been to the Riverside." I was like, "I went there for the open house, but during a match day, I've never really walked around." So it was great. We did that. We walked around. We went to the team store because we actually had time to wait in that line and get through everything. So it was good to be there early and just seeing people kind of flood in and really enjoying themselves.
Absolutely. So we'll move on to the lineup here. And it was a pretty interesting call from Kano in a few places here. But running it down here, we have Amy Mbika, Albert Tikwa, Noah Fuson, Clay Holstad, Rio Hopgund, Jojea Quizera, Maxi Rodriguez, Jackson Lee in goal, Mark Ibarra and the captain on the night, Karifa Yao and Amos Shapiro Thompson there. And then a couple notable subs that we saw. We had JJ Williams back on the bench, which was really fantastic. Also had Hugo down there. Aldair Sanchez on the bench, which was an interesting call by the coach. And then bring up just the injury report, which has been shrinking, which is really nice to see. But all we had on there was Koke Vegas, Grant Stoneman, and Zachary Harava out there. So, Matt, what did you think of the lineup?
It was good. I mean, obviously, it really pained me that my guy Frank here was not.
I didn't do that on purpose. 11. I'm sorry for not calling him Frank, isn't
it? No, it's fine. But seriously, no. Look, the biggest key was there's a striker in the starting 11 because that was the obviously the biggest gripe we all had that I think Matt and I hammered on the whole pod last week was that we didn't have one against Indy. So yeah, I mean that was the main thing I was looking out for. I mean, I would have been shocked if we again didn't have either Deco or JJ starting. So, I mean that was the main thing for me. And yeah, I like seeing Ibarra in there. And yeah, I mean the rest of it's kind of what you'd expect, right, based on who we've been playing and who's fit. So,
yeah, Andrew, what do you think?
I'm at a point now where I don't know what to expect every single time the lineup comes out. Like we've laid 2 eggs in a row now in the last 2 matches, trying different things in both of those. So I mean, there's certain players that you expect to be in there when you're surprised when they're not in there. But in terms of what the shape is going to be like, where people are going to be in certain positions, what side of the field they're going to be on, like all of that is just, I have no idea. You just every single time you open up this lineup and you're just trying to piece out like who do we think is fitting into different slots. There's no consistency in the lineup, which in one way is good because if they're not really performing, then maybe there shouldn't be consistency because you have to change it. I remember having this conversation last year too. It was like, well, at what point do you try to find some consistency so they can start playing in more consistent roles and perhaps performing better in the roles that are expected of them? So my biggest takeaway looking at this was Frank on the bench. I would have thought that he'd be in here, but we have a number of guys here that need to be rotated out. So there's always going to be a couple of those. I think our key playmakers otherwise were there, but still, like every single time right on the dot, I wait for that tweet to come in. I see it and I'm just like, I have no idea what to expect. And that was another case for yesterday.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So 2 other notables before the game. One of them, Sarah called out here. Quizera, his new haircut, the blonde hair. I'll be honest, I loved it. I was like, things aren't working for him. You got to switch it up, spice it up somehow. Might as well bleach the hair. And then the other one was the noise record that we set. Did you all pick up your medal that we all got at the end of the game of USL noise record holders? You'll never sing that. Any thoughts on either of those two things, Andrew?
On the hair, credit to my friend Nick that was with me. He mentioned he kind of looks like what's the guy's name? Jarzy Zardes. Remember the guy from the U.S. men's national team?
I mean, the chat is already going through just multiple players here. It could have been. I mean, that's the move, right? Like all the players do that. So
yeah. So I was hoping it would increase his skill level, but at least in yesterday it wasn't enough for what the team needed. And then the noise thing, I don't know. He was holding the meter, so I'm pretty sure that part of it was legit. But I have no idea how legit the record is. Just going into it, what the record was and how we matched up to it. And B, I just kind of got the vibes of you go to a Celtics game or a Bruins game, and there's that meter, or it's just oh, you're getting louder. I'm like, this is bullshit. This is just a graphic that they put up there. We're not actually getting louder. And it kind of had the same vibes there. I was just I don't know if we're actually being loud or not, but.
Listen, I'm not going to accuse Flanny of cooking the books there, but I don't know. He was screaming next to it, and I don't know if that is allowed. But Hans, any notes on our final pre-game notes? Yeah,
real quick on Quizera. I didn't when I saw him come out, I didn't know who he was for a second from up in 205. I was like, "Is that who is that? Is that the new guy? What?" And I was like, "Oh no, it's Quizera." And like Andrew said, yeah, I mean, good of him to change things up, style wise, but didn't provide enough on the field for us. And the noise record thing, sure. I mean, it's a marketing thing you're doing. Although I don't think they talk about it on the broadcast, but you're on national TV. You're trying to push forward your stadium and market your stadium. So whatever, why not go do that? Make up a record and. Maybe catch on. Maybe some other teams will try to do their own thing to beat it, and it'll actually become a legit contest there. But
all right, if it becomes a legit contest, we need a little more auditing of the how we're measuring. I need a little more juice. We need Guinness to be flown in to
there was no Guinness there.
We need a neutral party to arbitrate that.
Again, shout out to our guy Flanny. We're not insinuating any shenanigans on his part. So
yeah, Flanny is awesome.
My biggest issue with that was that they didn't really promote it. I would have felt better about it if they were talking about it leading up to it, putting it in the promotional emails and the different communications. We caught wind of it because we saw, Sabine on the roadshow on yesterday, and or Friday, and she mentioned it. But if they wanted to do this, I feel like they should have put more into it to make sure that people were in seats and prepared for that moment, as opposed to, I'm sure 99% of that stadium had no idea that was going to be happening. So probably more than 99%.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you think we could go higher. You think we can be like that pole vaulter guy, just keep setting new world records every
we can't score, but we can be loud.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. And there
if there's one thing you can't second guess on this season so far, it's the fans have shown up. It's on the field side of it.
Oh, we got.
No, I was gonna say, and look, there are a lot of people in the concourse, even throughout the game, right? They talk about these sellouts, and we're like, oh, but the seats are empty. There's a ton of people in the concourse, so you get those people in their seats. For this, it looks better on TV, I'm sure, especially if they're Riverside seat people, and you can get the noise. So
yeah. Listen, I think it's a fun idea. I don't have any qualms with it. To Andrew's point, you guys saw my ranting about all the different things I would have done differently, but we will leave it to the marketing department there. So first half, I have not really any notes to talk about. The biggest standout moment to me was Amos's yellow card, at halftime. That drove me absolutely up a wall, and we're definitely going to talk a bit more about the refereeing performance here. But anything you guys wanted to call out before we go to the halftime stats?
Yeah, I can. I think it was.
Which I think kind of tells the story of the first half in its own way.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I haven't actually looked, but I have a feeling the stats will reflect this. But very physical first half, particularly from Hartford, and the ref kind of let a lot of that stuff go. There were several instances where sure you could probably say it was shoulder to shoulder, but there are guys getting shoved to the ground, particularly on RIFC. It did go both ways, but particularly on us. And the ref let it go, which I felt was interesting because that's something that normally we don't see in the USL. So that was kind of a change. But yeah, just that, and then just missed calls. There's a tackle on Maxi that I think that was first half, right outside the box. I think it ended up going to Clay, and Clay hit it and went off someone out for a corner. But clear foul, a guy went right through Maxi, nothing called there. You know, I think there was like a handball there that wasn't called. So lots of missed calls. I think the ref was paying. He had Legos on the mind, I think, if you know what I'm talking about, instead of instead of the game. So
Yeah,
I'll
shout out
leave
to
it at
our
that.
detective Matt Kerwin on that
Yeah.
one. Andrew, what do you think of the first half?
A way I've described a lot of these games is just more of the same, and that's what it felt like. Where if you were to ask who deserves to be winning, we would say Rhode Island, because Hartford had done nothing. Like, I think they ended the game with no shots on goal. It was Rhode Island bossing the game, but it just didn't turn into anything dangerous. And that's just been the story of their season, particularly at home, particularly without JJ. So for me, that the story was just not enough there. Toothless in the attack. The only interesting move I really found was having Rio start on the left, and then at some point having him switch with Mabika over to the right side. And it didn't feel like Rio was connecting very well with Cruzera, so I didn't know if it was more of a correction on that connection, or if it was more, I think as you guys had mentioned in the Discord earlier today, was it more just to put Rio in on Clay's side? And if that's the case, why wasn't that there to begin with? So going back to the lineup like we talked about before, we still don't love having Clay over on the right. It doesn't feel like that's where this team is best suited. And it was really frustrating that what we felt like they were starting to find something with this double pivot with having Maxi and Clay there, and that didn't last very long. Like, there's just been constant change there, and they moved Clay over to the right, and I felt like this was one of Clay's worst games of the season. Like, I just thought he had a really poor performance for his standard, and it's just interesting then trying to find what the right combinations were with Rio and Quazera, and then with Rio and Clay, and none of it really worked. Like, that change didn't do anything kind of on either side of the pitch.
No, absolutely. And just to your point, into these halftime stats here, 64% possession for Rhode Island FC, 7 shots to Hartford's 4. Neither team had a shot on target or a big chance here. 78% passing accuracy for Rhode Island FC to 63% for Hartford. Fouls committed, Rhode Island FC 6, Hartford 11, corners 3-2. A pretty, again, bland half. I mean, we had all that possession, but somehow Hartford had 3 more touches in the opposition box than us. We obviously also, with that discrepancy in fouls here, almost double from Hartford, ended up with 2 yellow cards to their 1. Again, something we're going to continue to talk about here. Yeah, overall, it seemed like a pretty mild-mannered first half, especially for a derby, especially with the energy that was brought from the crowd, from the team, leading into it. I was a bit surprised with how flat that half felt.
I'm not. I mean, I think one thing that we can say about the games against Hartford last year was that Rhode Island brought a lot of energy to those, and even though one of them was a draw, the other one was a decisive win, it felt like they were up for those games. I thought that they were going to be up for this game. I think that they generally were, but the leap from their baseline to energy level and I don't know what the right word is, just hustle or whatever. Like, it wasn't as much there as it was in last year's 2 matches against them. It also was clear to me in this first half and then throughout the rest of the game too that Hartford was not there to win the game. They were there to draw. Yeah. They weren't pushing forward. They were being physical because they knew that they had to be physical, which I take no issue with. That's how you have to play. But just seeing every time they went down, they would just milk it for as long as humanly possible. So it was just really, really clear to me that Hartford was there just to hold on to the draw. And when you play against teams like that and you don't have the creativity or the ability to create offensive chances to get through that, then we knew it was going to be a long day for Rhode Island. I think that was part of the issue that they had there was they couldn't really get through it because they can't really get through anyone who's just, very stubborn in that defense, playing physical and milking the clock. We've seen that all season.
Yeah, I totally agree. If I can chime in, totally agree with Quadros here. Like, Hartford's a very physical and, no pun intended, athletic team. So especially like in the, but no, they are those
guys, Mike.
I know. No, but they got guys like they have players who can run around and cut off passing lanes, and I think they made it difficult for us to kind of play through them. Which, I mean, it's been difficult for us to do anyway. So, but I think Hartford made it even more difficult. And yeah, so and as we know, we've had trouble breaking teams down, and I think Kano mentioned after the game that we in the first half weren't doing enough. We weren't moving the ball around quickly and creating, getting the ball wide to create spaces in the middle, and we weren't really doing that fast enough in this first half, and that was our main issue there. So,
But how is
yeah,
that different than before? I mean,
yeah,
that's been, I think, their MO for most of the year. And something that Tim and I highlighted when we were in the last double pivot episode we did too, is like they do try to get it into those wide spaces, but they're slow to do it, that the defense could just easily just shift over and block off any spaces that it would have created if they just moved faster. Everything is just too slow. And when you move that slowly, the team could just easily reset their defense. And that wasn't an issue yesterday. That's been an issue all season.
right, true. And I think that's something that yeah, I mean, I don't think Kano obviously hasn't had an answer for yet, on the field. And we'll talk about maybe some change in personnel, like some stuff we saw in the second half might help that. But I think that's kind of where the team is at. He's got to get the guys out there to move quickly, whether it be starting with goalkeepers, whether it's Koke or Jackson, getting the ball out quickly, and you're a defender and just moving it fast, like get the ball up the field. Like you got to play quickly. You got to get these teams out of position. You can't give them time to set up, because you're not good enough to break those teams down. You're not prime Barcelona where you're going to pass the ball around and tiki-taka teams to death, or an Arsenal, right? Sorry, Brian, I had to bring up Arsenal. Pass the ball into the goal. Like it's not going to happen. So you got to, play faster.
Yeah, so I'm going to move us along, because as the chat's already getting into the second half, and I think we have a lot more to talk about in the second half here. So where do we start? So I think there's a lot of talking points coming out of the second half here. To me, the one that really sets the tone of kind of how this half played out was the subs. So half starts, not a ton really came out of it. The 59th minute, I think we see, and people are already calling it out in the chat here, probably I think the most controversial sub of the night, which was JJ Williams coming on for Maxi Rodriguez. I personally gasped when the board went up and it was Maxi's number on there. I couldn't believe that at all. But yeah, Andrew, what'd you make of that initial sub?
I was stunned. I saw that number and I froze, and I looked back at you, and you had the same look that I did. It was just like, what? Why? JJ is, you can see when he went out to the field how much of a difference that he makes. There aren't many people that are creative enough and skilled enough to be able to get him the ball in dangerous positions. Maxi is one of those few. Why did he come off the field? It doesn't appear that he was injured. It doesn't appear that
I did briefly talk to Maxi after the game, and I can confirm he is not injured.
Right. So I don't understand it. You're struggling for a goal. You should be taking off less offensive-minded players and putting in more offensive-minded players. Granted, JJ's a forward and Max is a midfielder, but he's one of the few people that can actually make things happen. I'm so confused on that sub. I don't understand it.
Yeah, Matt, what'd you think that one?
Yeah, I'm with you. I wasn't as upset about it as you two, but I definitely agree. And I can confirm Brian was shocked when this happened. He stood up right in front of me when the number came up. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, I don't think Maxi was having a particularly good game up to that point. I mean, I guess no one really was, but I still think, yeah, you're gonna chase a goal. You want to go for the win. You leave him in, and you probably take a Mark Ibarra out, even though I thought Ibarra had, a solid game, nothing amazing, but nothing bad at all either. But yeah, that's probably the move there to try to get stuff going, especially when you have an outlet. JJ is going to be that outlet to nod the ball down as one of the main things he does. And you got Maxi, who we've seen playing further back and play those long balls. We've scored some goals off of that when we've actually been scoring recently. Some of that's come from that, and so yeah, you'd want to keep him on the field. So I'm not sure why.
And he's a versatile piece too. Like if you want to make subs later on, you can slot in Maxi to any of those. So if you take out Ibarra, Maxi could fill in for that role. If you took out Amos, he could fill in for that role. If you needed to slot in Maxi or Clay, he could move around. Like he allows you to do a lot more. So keeping him on the field to me was paramount. And finding someone else to take off. So taking off a creative player when you need creativity is in the 59th minute. It doesn't compute. It doesn't compute to me.
Yeah, I think my issue is I'm at a point with this season of it just doesn't seem like whatever we're trying is working, and I think you just kind of have to go with who's the best guys, who is the other team not going to want to play against, who does our team think are the best players here. I can't fathom with what I've seen so far this season, Maxi Rodriguez not being one of those 11 players. And it just, to me, was such a very, very, very strange decision. Knowing that Maxey was not injured, it was a truly tactical decision from coach. And I think the other side of it too was what, and really bothered me was, we talked a lot about Clay. We had multiple opportunities to bring Clay back on the inside into the midfield, and we just refused to take that, which I think gets called out again in the 65th minute when we sub in two center backs when we're chasing a game, Frank Nodarse and Hugo Bacharach for Rio Hopgund and Amos Shapiro-Thompson. And I think the most fascinating part of this move is then we see Hugo play in central midfield rather than kind of shifting people around to then bring Clay back into the midfield. I want to be clear. Hugo, we're going to talk a lot about him soon, like a phenomenal game from him, but another like very, very puzzling sub, very puzzling decision from coach on that sub. Again, you're chasing a game. Two center backs are lining up on the touchline. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah,
Frank, I'll give you first dibs.
No, I think you're right. I think from an optics standpoint, like, why are we bringing two center backs on? And like you said, we'll talk about Hugo, and Hugo was awesome in midfield and later on in the back line when he moved back there. And, I mean, Frank was fine, I guess, although he did give up a chance, I would say, for Hartford. But
I have a video of it.
I'm sure. But yeah. Yeah, kind of bizarre. You're chasing a goal against a team that clearly isn't, like we said earlier, like isn't looking to win the game. So, why are you bringing on two defenders? I mean, you've got other guys on the bench maybe that could be more attacking. So, yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, Hugo worked out, as we'll get to.
Yeah. Andrew, actually, I'm going to, before I kick that question over to you, I just saw this question in the chat from Sean. Has Maxey been all that great this year? I'm going to leave myself out of this one.
Sean and I have had many conversations with this. I know Sean. And I don't think he's been stellar, but I also think that that's been a function of the system and them not being able to figure things out offensively. I think that if you were just to line up all your players, especially offensively, and say who's done well, who's performed well, I think his expectations were the highest, but there aren't many people that have performed a lot better than him. I think this is a team problem that's not induced by Maxey being there. I think Maxey is just there suffering along with the team struggling to figure out how to best utilize him and just how to create offensive chances to begin with. So I think he is still one of the most talented, if not the most talented player. It just hasn't gone to our expectations, but I don't think it's his fault.
Yeah. Hans, what do you think?
No, he's spot on from Andrew. I totally agree. I think it's a function of really Maxey's versatility almost hurting him in a sense, and the fact that Kano is moving him around and wants to constantly change things to try to figure out what's going to work, which of course we haven't figured out yet. But I mean, his versatility hurting him.
What's funny? I actually think I think we've seen a lot of players suffer in Kano's world with that sometimes. Like, I think Kano clearly recruits on versatility, and I think it's a really smart thing to do because you can have players cover when needed. But I also think sometimes players' versatility gets used to their disadvantage, i.e. Clay Holstad, as we saw last night, as well as previously in the back line. We've seen Haraval play at center back when, like, really it's not his best use of him. So, yeah, I mean, I think that was a really good point, Matt.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, Ryan said it perfectly. Yeah, he hasn't been in a good position, put in a great position to succeed. I think at times, when Maxey's gotten forward, he's scored, like, the goal against the Revs. He's kind of done the late run into the box type thing. And, we've seen some good passing from him from further back, but sometimes he kind of gets lost in the shuffle there in the midfield. And it's almost like we don't know what his role is and what he's like. I think that was kind of what happened in this game as well, which is why I was kind of saying I didn't think he was particularly good in the first half or before he got subbed out. But yeah, I think it's, like Quadro said, mostly a function of the system and not having like a set system week in, week out, and your defined roles. If you continue to keep changing those, it's going to kind of lead to inconsistency from the players.
Yeah, and that goes back to the point I raised toward the start. There's been no consistency. If you look at who on this team has had a consistent enough role that you have a pretty good idea, and they have a pretty good idea of what the role is going to be every match.
Goalkeeper.
Chico, the goalkeeper, maybe Quizera, and then like Yao and Mabika. That's probably about it. Everybody else is just like, how am I going to be utilized today? So how are you going to build off of that when every single match is just like, here's a new role, we'll figure it out. And granted, it's repeating some of those. It's not like it's a brand new one every single time, but it's like they can't really build off of anything because of all the changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Santiago has an interesting point here of coaches getting desperate and he's just plugging anyone in to see if something changes, in parentheses, not really thinking it through.
It could be. I mean, there is if you go back to the substitutions here, that second set of subs was, like we said, Frank and Hugo. So 2 defenders, and granted, Hugo didn't end up playing defense. But who do they have that they could have brought on offense? So they had Brito, who I think we agree is not necessarily a game changer. I think he's someone that does well when they have the lead, but not when they're chasing a goal. They have Anking, who has seemed to be on the outs with the team, didn't travel with the team in Indy last week, can't find the game anymore. They needed energy, they needed spark, they needed speed, they needed creativity. Anking can provide those things, and he did that when he played, a couple weeks ago, and for some reason he didn't get in. And then maybe you can say Aldair just to be able to provide better service now that JJ was in the game at that point, and he could provide better service than Quazera could. But it's not like they had a ton to pick from. So yeah, I kind of agree. It's just like, let's just, who do you want to put in, and then just find someone to take out and shuffle everything around and hope that it works. Like that's what it feels like. Obviously, there's a lot more thought that goes into it, but it doesn't feel that way because the results haven't been there.
Yeah, I just want to say I agree. I think like it feels that way with substitutions, especially like Andrew was saying. Like, and that goes back to last year too, and when we were in situations where we need to chase a game, we would just, it felt to us anyway on the outside. Obviously, I'm sure Kato knows what he's thinking and what he wants to do, but to us on the outside, it's like, what are these guys' roles going to be? Like, we had a bunch of midfielders coming on, it kind of just gets jumbled.
I'll push back a little bit there. My criticism of him last year with the substitutions is I thought that they were all premeditated, that he went through regardless of what the game situation was. Like, I felt like in his mind, 60th minute, this player is going in for that player. 75th minute, that player is going in for that player. Like, that's what it felt like to me. It was just like, no matter what was happening in the game, unless they were just like down 2 goals and needed to chase it and he was just throwing whatever offensive weapons he had, it just felt like there wasn't enough. He wasn't dynamic enough in being able to adjust to the game. And now it doesn't feel like like either one is happening. Like, it doesn't feel premeditated, and it doesn't feel like it's really adjusting to what's happening in the game either.
No, I can agree with that. Just real quick. I mean, the only recent time I remember like a substitution like being like, oh yeah, that's going to change the game was I'm sorry, but Frank. But when Frank came on against no, but it's true though. When Frank came on against North Carolina, and like the whole issue in that first half was players getting in behind Aldair, who was getting caught too far up the field, and either he wasn't getting back or he wasn't getting the right cover. And they brought Frank in the second half, and he had like the best half he's probably ever had for us on that left back role. And that to me was something that I can point out and say, oh, like in my head, like, oh yeah, like there we go. Like that's an issue, and that's something that Kano corrected with a substitution. A lot of the other times, like Andrew said, it does seem either premeditated or late in the game, you're kind of just throwing guys in there. And it doesn't really seem, we're constantly changing the system too, as well, bringing players in.
I would say of the criticism I've had of Kano subs, that's usually actually where I've landed on, is more, it's just constant chop and change. And like, he never makes a sub that like one thing changes when that sub comes in. It's usually a sub goes in and then 4 guys move.
Never
like, I don't love that, because it just seems as though, okay, now this guy, he's been thinking about this whole game, and now he's going to have to rethink about the game in a completely opposite direction. That's always, I think that was the things, I think I did slides about it last year or something like that, or a video. But
what's funny though is that this specific set of substitutions that we were talking about that kicked off this conversation was Hugo and Frank coming in, and my expectation was, okay, this means that Clay can move inside, that Frank will go to that wing back spot, and Hugo will play defense. And that actually was 1-for-1 for each of them. It just, we wouldn't have expected it, but it was Hugo coming in to that midfielder role, and it was Frank going into the center back role. So it just, it's I don't understand it. Like but that's the issue you're talking about, is every time subs come in, it's just like you don't know what they're doing or what the adjustments are going to be. And I don't even know how those get communicated too, because it's not just like, all right, I'm going here, now that guy slots back. There's a lot of shuffling.
Hand signals.
Does that speak to, then it is premeditated? It's just like, we're going to make this decision, and then everyone's going to move into their spots, and they know that going into the game, because that's a lot to communicate in terms of not only where your positions are, but what the role is that you have to play when you go in there. And that's a lot for these players to have to worry about.
Yeah, I will say there's absolutely no way Max Rodriguez thought he was coming off in the 59th minute.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm trying to say, I think there's definitely communication on the field when they come in, like telling everyone where to go. So I don't think that stuff's like premeditated.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to Sean. Sean has gotten me on the Maxi thing here. Maxi has 2 elite moves, the late run into the box and the long ball when he's not under pressure. Dare I say that is the perfect partner to be up there with JJ Williams, who is really good about holding the ball up, crossing into the box, and then also taking kind of balls, like, those headers or crosses into the box. I will move on from this one, as I could spend all night on that. But just to round out the subs conversation, in the 86th, we did get Sanchez and Brito for Mabika and Chico. I think the real strange one here. So Hugo then moves back in Mabika's place. Brito plays up top, and for some very strange reason, Aldair Sanchez is playing like a right fullback, which I was very confused at that part of the whole thing. And the only good thing about this sub was that we finally get Clay into the midfield. And at this point, he's absolutely exhausted because he's been running the wing the entire game. But yeah, Andrew, anything on this final sub here before we kind of dive more into the details of this half?
No, I mean, at this point, we were all just frustrated, and we could see that Hartford was even taking longer every time they hit the floor, stopping the game for head injuries in the middle of an attack when I'm not even convinced it was a head injury. Like, it just felt like there wasn't going to be enough to get us over the top unless JJ did something special. And we did see, like, the second JJ went in there, it did change. Like, the way that they played changed, their ability to create offensive chances changed. But these specific changes, like, I didn't really get jazzed up for either one of those. I was really hoping to see yanking, but it's not like I saw these guys coming in and saying, all right, this is going to be the push that we need to get over the top.
Yeah, Matt, not to cut you off here, but just to pivot into the JJ portion of this conversation. So JJ Williams, 3 shots on target. We had 3 shots on target for the game. All of them came after JJ was on. He had 2 of them, and he set up the third. We had 2 big chances on the night. He created one and was at the attacking end of the other. He had 3 chances created, most by anyone in the match in just 31 minutes. 4 touches in the opposition box. He was 3 of 5 on duels won. We've been talking a lot about, JJ, please save this team. And I think we've all been pretty good on here about, while JJ will be helpful, it's not going to solve everything. But man, oh man, did he try to solve everything yesterday. But Matt, what do you think about JJ's performance here?
Yeah, I mean, he was great. And yeah, you could tell from the second he came on, I think he had got that chance for decoy like immediately.
Do you think it was like the copious amount of smelling salts before he came on?
Yeah, I mean, that probably had something to do with it. He was fired up, man. He was fired up out there, and I think he was obviously happy to be back, and I'm sure thrilled to be back at be able to play his first game at Tidewater. So yeah, I mean, he was instant offense. I mean, winning headers to set other players up. I think he had like a nice kind of cut across in the box to try to set up. I think it was Quizera. The ball ended up bad, and of course he had to shoot with his left and got blocked. But I
rewatched that and like screamed at the computer, like just shoot it with your right.
And the free kick too. A lot of times he goes for power, but he went for placement. And I mean, maybe it wasn't that difficult of a save to make, but still, it was on target, low, bottom corner, far post. So like, he was definitely on fire there. And I think a lot of what's going to happen for this team going forward is really going to depend on how healthy he is. And you got to be very careful with that, of course, coming back from the calf injury. And he knows that. I think he said that Sarah actually talked to him after the game on the Autograph Alley. And he kind of mentioned that. And I think in the post-match, he mentioned that as well, that, he has to make sure that he's careful out there. But yeah, I mean, if he's healthy and he's firing, I mean, it seems like that's the only way we're going to get offense at this point.
Yeah, and before I kick this to Andrew, I think actually bringing up that first initial big chance from JJ would be helpful here. So here we go.
Played with Worcester and Cape Cod. Ireland as well for a brief stint. Ball in for Williams. Williams across. Oh, what a catch save! How did Siaha turn away Dequa? Ball back over too high for Williams.
For Athletic, they get a little bit narrow. They rotate into a single 6. What that does is open up more space on the outside. Great quick decision there from Clay Holstad. Notice how he bypasses the entire line of pressure. You allow JJ Williams to get in behind. But
So we're going to talk a lot about Siaka throughout the rest of this episode, but really fantastic save. I mean, I think Chico does a pretty good job on getting across that. JJ just, again, instant offense, getting that ball across. But yeah, Andrew, I think this was the kind of first moment we said, oh shit, JJ's back.
I actually think it was right before that. It was like the first couple minutes on the field. There was that play where he knocked the ball down and instantly created a chance. And that, like, I think he just held off the defender, took the ball down. I forgot who he gave it off to. If it was
Dequa.
Yeah,
there was a Dequa chance where he took a touch around and he kind of shot it high and wide.
Yeah, so like that for me was the JJ is back moment, because that was almost instantly after he came onto the field. But you could just see how much more he can do in terms of his ability to kind of pull apart defenses, his ability to hold up the play and knock down balls. Like that. Right now they're playing a lot.
Right here.
Sorry. No. Right now they're playing a lot wide, like we talked about, which is we again too slow to get there. But a big part of that is we're missing that middle, whether it's middle in the midfield or middle just in terms of Dequa being able to set up plays off of those wingers. And JJ being there instantly gives them an outlet where they can actually work inward to work back outward, or work inward and knock the ball down and take shots. So that presence, just him being there, allows them to play differently, and it opens up the playbook for them to be able to do more as they're trying to push forward. So for both of those, yeah, I mean, if you look at all of the chances that we had in this game, or however few there were, the best ones were JJ on the field, even though he only played 30 minutes.
Yeah. What about you, Hans?
Yeah, totally agree. Nothing to add. Not really. Like JJ. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's right.
Yeah. So I think the next big moment that happened here in the half was the Mark Ibarra big time clearance here. I think we can all say that Hartford was not trying to win this game by any means. They were very much playing for a draw, and had very limited. They had 0 shots on target all night, so they clearly were not putting a lot of pressure on us. But I thought this was a pretty fantastic and clutch moment from Ibarra here.
Right here, Angelina, sidestep, service across the face toward Edwards, slid out.
You know, Hans, I'm going to give you first bite at that one. You know, one of your favorite players was a little yikes on that one.
Yeah, no. Frank got cooked on that one by Angelina. It was a good move from Angelina, but Frank's got to be better one-on-one defending. Makes me wonder if Rio was out there one-on-one defending in that spot. If that happens, Rio's been good, particularly on the right. I know earlier we were talking about him being on the left, which was kind of confusing. But yeah, not great defending from Frank, and yeah, good on Ibarra to be in the right spot there. I mean, Ibarra, I think, is a very reliable player. You know, defensively. I mean, he's captain's armband, I believe, for this game. Like, very reliable. Knows where to be on the field. He's not going to do anything super flashy, but you know, he'll make plays like that to kind of save yourself. You know, save the team, and so credit to him for being in the right spot.
Absolutely. So I think the other player that has been a real standout that people have called out here has been Hugo Bacharach. And again, when he came on and he was standing in the middle of the pitch, I was flabbergasted, but also it was one of those moments of like, well, shit, nothing's working, so might as well try something. I have been told by a reliable source that he has played actually a lot of central midfielder in the past, which is cool. But yeah, in just 25 minutes played, Hugo, 1 shot, 75% passing, 1 chance created, 2 out of 3 successful dribbles, 1 pass into the final third, 1 touch in the opponent's box. He won 7 of 9 duels. Just fantastic. And I'm just going to play a quick clip of like what Hugo was doing out there.
Bacharach leans over Holstead. Ball deflects around, came off of.
So dare I say the man was like prime Xavi out there, just like cutting up, breaking lines. I was tremendously impressed by Hugo. But Andrew, what'd you take of I was gonna say the big defender, but the big midfielders night?
He was awesome. He was so much fun to watch. He's such a big dude too. Like when you saw him on the sideline, I forget who was standing next to him. Might have been. Did he come on at the same time as Aldair? Oh no, as
Frank.
As Frank.
Yeah.
There was somebody who was standing next to him in the midfield, but he just like towered above them. And then when you actually saw the position that he was settling into, he just looks out of place, because you usually don't see central midfielders or even defensive midfielders that are just that big in stature. So it just looked awkward. But every time he got on the ball, like sometimes when you have really big people with the ball, it just looks funny. And it didn't really look funny. Like he just looked comfortable with the ball. And I didn't know what clip we were going to play. I was hoping this was the one because it's not just that he was able to break lines through dribbling. It's just the ease in which he did that. Like he just like very smoothly just moved the ball from one foot to the next, got to the next level, blew past the next guy, brilliant pass over to Clay. Like everything just looked so easy, so smooth, so natural. And to be seen if this is his game or if it was just the fact that no one was expecting it because it was the first time, one of the first times that people could really see him in that type of position. But if this is what he can bring, then this is a guy that needs to start because he's able to do something in terms of actually bringing the ball into the middle and setting up hit the players around them. So I was very, very excited. And we've been looking for sources of hope that this team was going to turn it around. And we knew that the J1 could be a fleeting one because we don't know how long it was going to take to get up to a standard. But he looked good last night. And then you add in this Hugo thing. Then we're thinking, okay, maybe there's something there. It's the last piece of hope that I'm holding on to with this team.
Yeah, I think with Hugo, the thing I called out last game, and then I called out again last night on Twitter was the thing I've really appreciated has just been like his aggression. He seems like the only person who's like, hey, wait a minute, we need to get the ball up there at speed quickly, take some risks, take people on. He made a really great run, and like the 89th minute of the last game, it was like the only time I remember being like, oh wow, we're actually doing something. And then tonight he's taking players on. Really fantastic cameo from him. But yeah, what do you think, Hans?
Yeah, I mean he was awesome, skyrocketing up the rankings of my favorite players already. So we'll have to see if we can keep it up. But yeah, seems like a super nice guy too. I talked to him in Westchester, not in the bathroom like someone that we know, but out in the concourse or whatever. Yeah, and I also was yelling down at him from 205 after the game, and he was acknowledging, very appreciative. So
I do love that you have absolutely no idea what he said.
yeah, I do have no idea what he said. I couldn't hear him, but but no, like he was great, and you said he's played midfield in the past. I didn't really know that, but it was also said in the broadcast as well because I watched the broadcast. I watched the broadcast back like twice. That's how
You're sick, man.
Yeah, I was once. It was last night when I couldn't sleep. I was watching it at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., half asleep, and then I watched most of it again today. But Hugo was he's amazing. Has to start. We were talking in our Discord about lineups potentially and seeing maybe him be as a 6 moving forward. I think that would be a great role for if we're doing a back 4. It'd be a great role for him. Let him progress the ball. You need him to defend. Obviously, he can drop back in defense. I mean, he's the man. So excited.
Can I pause here? We had a question in the Discord from Leo that I'd love your take on.
Right.
Question for the pod: does Hugo make playing out from the back a more viable option?
Absolutely. I think he definitely.
I don't know how you can answer that.
Yeah, he definitely does. I think we've seen it with his passing, but more so, I guess, with his progressive carrying. And so, if you're playing. Either way, I mean, if you're playing 3 at the back and he's one of those, he can get forward and you can have other defensive cover. You can kind of shift to like a back 4. Or if he's in the midfield, even, get the ball to him quickly and at the base of the midfield and he can progress the ball. He can pass and I think ideally we've talked about this, but that's what Kano wants. Like he wants this team to be a possession-based team and he's never going to stop trying to do that. I know last year, we kind of switched away from that out of necessity, but yeah, I think Hugo's a player that can absolutely help us play that style. And, like Andrew said, we're looking for glimmers of hope here. And I think that he's one of them, along with, of course, JJ coming back. But super excited to see what he does. And I think he'll definitely help us playing out from the back, being more possession.
Andrew.
All of us that took him for $1 in the 7-a-side contest, what a bargain.
I remember one. I think it was Timmy was like, "Well, it's a bargain, but like we don't officially know." I've never bought stocks at a better price than that.
Yeah, no, I was so happy watching him, just seeing that element that we don't have with anybody else. You caution small sample size. Let's see if he can do this when other teams start to understand how he plays. If he does play in that kind of holding midfielder role, I would still like another defensive midfielder there, like an Ibarra, to provide cover for him because we don't know. At least we haven't seen how well he is in terms of tracking players through the middle of the field ahead of that defense. Like, we know he's a defender, and we've seen him be able to be a ball carrier in this short period of time. But is he someone that can play like as a sole six and be able to cover all of that himself? That's a lot of responsibility. So, I'm excited to see what Kano's going to ask of him moving forward, and I'm hoping that he's going to be put into positions where he's playing as a starter or in significant parts of games to see if he's able to have that carry forward in whatever positions he's put in.
Absolutely. So just very quick before we get to probably the topic a lot of people are expecting to come up, it is the final big play of the match here, which was Noah Fuson finding JJ Williams at the back post to almost bring home all 3 points at the death here. Also, I'm going to be very honest. This is a very weird video because whatever I downloaded, it did not get like the broadcast part of the video. So yeah, you'll see.
Played down in the corner, but credit to JJ Williams. He wanted a foul, but he comes up over the defender. He comes back to it. They both drift into each other's path. Unreal how he's able to manipulate his body, but never truly threatening for Anthony Siaha in net. Calmly collected.
So pretty decent effort. I think, having JJ at that back post is something that is a weapon that we have sorely missed on this team. But, JJ even said it in the press conference afterwards of like, I knew I was going to get cleaned out on that, and I just had to do my best. And, maybe in a couple of weeks after I'm not worried about, getting re-injured immediately after coming back, I might, make a little bit better effort at that. But, overall, I think that just showed, again, number one, the JJ to Noah link up that we saw last year, that worked really well, but also just like what JJ Williams brought to this game, but also brings to this team moving forward. What do you think, Hans?
Yeah, I think a good chance. I agree with the commentary there that it was wasn't too difficult for Siaha. I think Siaha had decent, positioning. It was kind of high. He was able to easily grab it. But yeah, good effort from JJ. And yet again, like that's, it's an offense. He was the guy who was providing all of that for us. And so we need him. And yeah, we need him to stay healthy. So like you said, he kind of knew he was going to get cleaned out on that one. So we had to be somewhat careful there and, totally respect that for him. We need him. We need him to stay healthy. You don't want him to like, go through all this extra effort there. And then now he's injured again. And, we don't have him. So, yeah.
That does concern me. I mean, the calf injuries, muscular injuries in general, but particularly calf injuries. How many times have you seen guys take a while to come back from that and then just push it a little bit too hard, and then they're out for a significant amount of time after that too? So it happens all the time, particularly with star players. It happened for Benfica with Di Maria this year, where he just it's when it's an important player and everyone's trying to push for you to get back in the lineup because of the difference that you can make. It's very easy to just go a little bit too far and then suffering a big setback. So they have to be really smart with how they use him. And I do have concerns where if he's the sole lifeline in this offense, and they look that much better when he's on the field, is he going to be pushed to be like, all right, we got to keep stretching out those minutes now?
Yeah, and just I will play the clip now from the press conference, but Kano did touch on this about both Hugo and JJ here.
With the guys who came back today, is there a chance they could start next week? Are they getting closer to full fitness where they can give you 90 minutes or 75 minutes?
I think they could definitely in with a shout at starting. I mean, you have to see how the week goes, but they're certainly building fitness. But thought about starting them tonight, but that wouldn't have been fair to them. Just to, I think they have to go through the progression of 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 plus minutes. But they possibly could have started, but certainly they should be closer to starting matches next week.
So I think that's pretty good news. And I do appreciate Kano's approach there, because I'm sure at this point, especially, it's extremely tempting just to throw him back in there and see what happens. But I appreciate that we're taking some caution here. I'm sure JJ's in his ear, like, let me go. And, but I think a measured approach is well, especially what you guys just said about a calf injury, which is particularly tricky. But yeah, I think the thing that stood out to me was I cannot believe this is the first time we've seen JJ Williams at Centreville Bank Stadium so far. Like, I feel like we've spent so much time there this summer, and the fact that JJ has not is actually pretty crazy.
Yeah, glad to see him there. I mean, shoot, last time he was probably out. I mean, he was in training, but he was out in the field there training, got hurt. So it's good for him to kind of have positive memories there. Obviously didn't get the win, but at least getting cheered on and massive cheers from the crowd when he came into the game, fired up, created chances. So good to see. And then on the injury management, real quick, on what Connor was saying, Connor was a player, and he's a player. I'm sure he's a player's coach. So not surprising that he's kind of wise about how to manage those minutes and kind of basically know when to listen to a player and when a player is probably BSing him that they're ready to go. The full 90. So glad he's kind of managing those carefully, for sure.
Awesome. Andrew, anything before we get to the full-time stats and then the aftermath of this one?
No, you guys said it well for JJ.
Awesome. Alrighty. So second half, a little bit different here. We're gonna see how a little bit less of the ball, which is kind of surprising with how dominant the performance felt there. But 54% possession for Rhode Island FC, 8 shots to Hartford's 2. We had 3 shots on target to their 0. We had 2 big chances. We missed them both to Hartford 0. 69% passing accuracy to Hartford 64. Again, a crazy discrepancy here. 3 fouls committed to Hartford 7, but again, we got 3 yellow cards and so did they. But yeah, so overall, I think a bit better in the second half. I don't think it was enough. Still, you want to see the team really be able to ramp up the pressure, but when you back yourself into a corner where it's kind of do or die, it's making it a lot easier, especially for a team who was actively not trying to win this one. But yeah, Matt, anything you want to call out from these stats? I think the one that I think is a bigger talking point is a little bit of the fouls committed versus cards here. I thought the refereeing performance was a bit suspect, but anything further?
No, not really. It's pretty much what we'd expect having watched the game. From the eye test. I think with the yellow cards, some of ours were deserved. I think we were breaking guys down in the emergency, basically, that we're going to be through on goal. So, I think that was it. And then, I think the ref kind of, definitely more willing to give out cards this half, I think, in the first half. Or I think if he had controlled the game in the first half better, we might not have seen as many cards in the second half. But he was kind of letting a lot of that physicality go, and then he kind of went back on that for the second half. So, just some inconsistency there. But that's really the only thing that I guess jumps out. The rest of it makes sense as far as Martin's right, refereeing consistent. As far as like our possession, makes sense. We had better possession, shots on target, all of that. Hartford didn't really offer much, so pretty standard for pretty much what I would expect.
Yeah, I think the thing that bothered me about the refereeing performance was it played exactly into Hartford's strategy.
Right.
It allowed them to break up play. There was constant rotational fouling that he just was not he never put the end to it of giving the card. It was like, well, it was that guy's second foul, but it's like, well, they're all doing it purposefully as like a rotation here. And then they were just his management of their injuries, quote unquote, I thought was really bad. They were milking some stuff. There's a point where a guy was down for 5+ minutes and he almost let him stay on the pitch. He didn't ask him to go off as they have to. So I thought that just all was very strange. Have to give him credit. He did add a ton of time on at the end. I think it was a +9 minutes. We ended up playing 11%, but I don't know. It was just it's hard when you basically see a team show up not wanting to play soccer and then you allow them to not play soccer. But yeah, Andrew, anything to add there?
Great.
That's how it works. That's how it works with shitty teams. Like, you just have to. Rhode Island has to be able to score. It's when the level of refereeing in this league is what it is, and we like I'm almost tired of talking about refereeing every single week because it is what it is. Like that, I guarantee you, every team that we play against on their Tide Talk equivalent, they have one. They're probably bitching about
could never
their direction. Like, it just is what it is, and good teams find ways to rise above it, right? Like, if the refereeing inconsistency provides a margin of that big of what's going to happen in the game, then the gap between you and the other team has to be better to be able to overcome that. And Rhode Island just hasn't been good enough to overcome it. So when we're tying every single game or we're losing by a goal, we're rightfully putting the criticism on the players and the coach, but we're also saying, well, the referee didn't help. Well, the referee doesn't help any game. Like, that's just how it goes, and we have to be better than that.
Yeah,
I think Martin kind of summarized that perfectly. Score goals and the referee does not matter.
Totally.
Awesome. Also, fun one. If anyone is excited about this, we did win on XG, 1.59 to 0.57. So similar to the Noise trophy, we also get that trophy for the night. But unfortunately, it does lead to a 0-0 draw for Rhode Island FC against Hartford Athletic in the first ever El Clamico at Centreville Bank Stadium. So speaking of, the full-time whistle blows. All those beautiful stats are then cemented. And so what happens at the whistle is I basically the whistle goes and I jet over to 116 so that I could, be there for the man of the match and all that good stuff. So I did not see a lot of this live, a ton. But as a lot of you know, what's coming next, Siaha from the Hartford Athletic goalkeeper decided to really put on a show here, which I'm going to play in full.
Ultimately, it finishes on the scoreline 0-0. Battered and bruised. Siaha is shushing the crowd, galloping around the field. And these sides will make acquaintances again next Saturday to decide who goes through in the Jägermeister Cup. You can bet this is going to be all over the bulletin board.
We have to start with the good here, and some of that is what you're getting out of Anthony Siaha. Not his antics, but the fact that Hartford Athletic came into the Lions' den. And for a team that has suffered game after game, really struggled to get anything still relevant within the Eastern Conference. Okay? Hartford Athletic has games in hand. They're 2 behind virtually right now, Birmingham Legion. But it's not how many games you have, Mike. It's what you.
So I have to give a big shout out to our guy, Harry, who was just caught in the crosshairs there.
Poor Harry.
Poor Harry, man. Does a phenomenal job. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Does a fantastic job every single match day. And boy, oh boy, was it a tougher evening here. But, we can break this down. There's a lot of different segments to talk about. First up, it's Siaha's performance, I'm going to call it, out there. Bigging it up to the crowd after a 0-0 draw. Just to read out his stat line, he had 3 saves. He was 1 of 18 on long balls, 5 of 22 on passing, and really decided to give it large to the crowd. You both, I think, heard my reaction. I never saw this, so I saw the video afterwards on the Call Hog Corner Live. And boy, oh boy, did I not like what he did to Noah Fuson. I have a massive problem with that. But let's start there with the Siaha aftermath. Actually, before I go to you, Andrew, I'm going to go to Coach Kano to talk about it.
Bulletin board material when he was, mocking the crowd and.
He'll. I'm sure the fans will give him a nice warm welcome next week. I don't think we need to. I don't condone that behavior. But he's an athlete. He's emotional. But for me, you tied the game while you're acting like. If he won, I would think he should have every right to do that. But you're hanging on for dear life to tie the game. It's pointless.
So a lot of the same sentiments I had. But Andrew, what do you think of Siaha's performance there?
Yeah, I think Coach Kyle nailed it. Dude's a fucking clown. Like, you tied the game 0-0. Your team never really had a chance to win it. He had a good game. Like, it's not like he played poorly and they still managed to squeak by, but it's not like he had to do a ton either. Like, the team just he wasn't challenged a ton. He had made that one good save on Chico. So to be shushing the crowd in a scoreless draw, like, you guys are just, like, we talk about Hartford pathetic. Like, that is as pathetic as it gets, to be shushing the crowd because you drew a game when you're in dead last. Like, congratulations, clown. Like, you get to jizz all over everything because you decided to shush the crowd and the team didn't like it. So I don't know. It's just clown behavior. To be clear, like, I don't have as big of a problem with it as I think you do or other people do. Like, I kind of like the fact that this adds some spice to it. I just think it's just childish and dumb, and there's other ways that he could have peacocked around without having to do that specific gesture. But it's just clown behavior.
Yeah. So Matt, I do have a specific question on this. Besides letting you also have a bite at that, do you think the Derby needed a moment like this?
Okay. Yeah. On the field, yeah. I think that a lot of the it's a funny comment.
Okay.
No, I think, like, a lot of the animosity, I've been kind of saying this leading up to the game too, like a lot of the animosity I feel like has been from the fans and from marketing, of course, but like we as the fans, especially on our side, have made it into a big thing. And I feel like the players, they've always kind of they know like and they know how we feel about it, and I think that's what was kind of driving them to perform in these games, both at Hartford last year and of course the 3-0 home win, where we came out kind of on fire in that game. But this sort of adds something where now it's not just. I feel like now it's not just the players aren't just thinking like, oh yeah, we got to win this for the fans. It's like now we kind of hate these guys because of what they were their antics after the game. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I did like Kano. I didn't notice this until you just played the clip this time. I've seen the clip several times, but I saw Kano was going up to Farrell trying to like seemed like he was basically Farrell's captain, being like, control your guy, and then Farrell just didn't really care. And then just kind of was, as you saw at the end of the clip there, yelling something about the team of an RIFC and the fans.
Well, we'll get to why he was yelling.
Well,
there.
yeah.
But yeah, so I think that really the temperature got turned up there. You can hear it from the crowd. It starts getting a little bit more of a hostile environment than it kind of had been on the day. So to that point, what Farrell was yelling at into the camera was about things being thrown from the stands at him and Siaha here. And quite frankly, that is the most bullshit, childish, small thing that you can do. I'm sorry your feelings are hurt because your team didn't win. I'm sorry your feelings are hurt because a guy is shushing you. He did also pretend to jerk off. Hey, that happens. But just want to be very clear here that anyone who partook in that is not a real fan of this team, is immature, is childish, needs to fucking figure that out interpersonally, because it's just not welcome in our stadium. It's not welcome in this sport. But yeah, anything to add on the throwing of stuff, Andrew?
I take a bigger issue with that than what Siaha did. Like
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. It's easy for fans to point at players for classless stuff, and you have a point to do that. But you don't want to be a fan base who gets accused of behaving improperly or doing those types of things. Like, I booed my face off, and I was probably making boo gestures myself in the crowd as Siaha was doing that. But to throw things on the field, like it develops a reputation for this fan base. It creates restrictions on the team and the supporter section and anyone else that's sitting in areas where that stuff could happen. Like, that just causes problems, and it's just bullshit, man. These guys are professionals. Like, regardless of the stupidity of some of their actions there, like you can't be throwing stuff at them, whether it's liquid or anything else. So it's just that I have a much bigger issue with than anything that the players did in the field.
Yeah, and before I kick it over to you, Matt, just to answer Sarah's question of what was he yelling, he was, he said something along the lines of, we're throwing shit, we're really gonna throw shit, RIFC, and something like classy or something like that. But yeah, Hans, how about you?
Yeah, I think like definitely agree with what both of you were saying. We can't be doing that as a fan base. I don't think it was people that I would look at and say were like main core Defiance people. Like I maybe, but like for me, I think we all kind of know, even if you don't know someone by name, we all kind of know each other from going back to last year. Nothing against anyone who's new this year. We always want new people, but going back to last year and watch parties and at all the games and some of the away games and this year as well. But to have people doing that, I think just reflects poorly on us as a fan base, and like my personal kind of philosophy on the whole like booing and jeering. Like, yeah, I think you should be able to boo as much as you want. You can jeer, you can taunt, you can say a lot of things. Clearly there's things you can't and shouldn't ever say, which we all kind of know what those things are. But that's where you have to kind of leave it. And if you're not mature enough to do that without getting too riled up that you're going to do something like that, then you shouldn't be doing anything. You shouldn't get involved. Shouldn't be doing that. I don't know, people are drinking. Shouldn't be drinking if you're going to get like that. If you're drunk, like, you got to be an adult about it. You got to be responsible. And yeah, that stuff should never be allowed. And I know we've heard that Defiance is certainly going to be looking into that, and with the help of the team, of course. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's unacceptable.
We also do know that there was also a altercation where a Rhode Island FC fan allegedly kind of followed some Hartford fans and in front of a cop decided to start a fight. That person was promptly arrested. And I do want to read this statement from the Defiance, which I think makes all of this crystal clear. Regarding the game and the events that transpired after the final whistle, the Defiant 1636 does not condone any call for violence online or in person. We also are upset to hear about physical violence that happened. We are currently working on reviewing comments made by members on Discord and other social media, and will be taking appropriate actions. We are also awaiting word from Rhode Island FC, who are reviewing footage from yesterday and may be issuing their own violations of the code of contact. The Defiance will support any decision that is made by violations. And I will add, this is for me, if you are one of the people who is then banned for life from Tidewater or from Centreville Bank Stadium, which means no RIFC or nor anything else, including concerts or anything else, you deserved it. You're a fucking idiot. And I just have no tolerance for this sort of behavior. As Matt said, if you're going to say, oh, I was drunk, I drink plenty at these games. I'm not fucking chucking things on the field, nor should any of us. We need to go out there, set an example for not just, the fan base, but for, the league. We don't want that kind of, reputation. Players aren't going to want to come here and play for teams like that. And also, like, for the kids, like, there's a lot of little kids that go to these games. It's an awesome family environment. And that's what's going to grow this game in this state and in this country for a long time. And if we are actively doing things that are setting a poor precedent, there's just no room for that at all. All right. I don't know how to pivot off of that. So I have a couple things, a couple other notes before we get to the socials. So one question from Ryan O, one of the Ryans. So shout out to the Ryans. Based on what we saw, will coach's absence from the sideline next week mean anything?
Tough to tell. Yeah, I think Andrew and I are both kind of hesitant here. I think tough to tell. We know he's not going to be up on the roof unless he wears a disguise, because apparently he got kind of in trouble for that. So, yeah, hard to tell. I mean, maybe we'll see more of those planned substitutions that Andrew was talking about, because he can kind of pre-plan those things. But I mean, Dave McKay's got experience. He managed. I think he was an assistant with Philadelphia Union when they were doing really well in MLS for a couple of years. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm sure we'll miss him. I'm sure the players will definitely feel his absence, not hearing him yell the whole game at them from the sidelines. But yeah, I don't know. It's actually something that I sort of forgot about until I saw Ryan's in the Discord. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Kyle's not going to do that.
There's like so much that came out of this game that it's like, oh wow, yeah, we have to like kind of regroup and do a lot of this again. And then there's all these little caveats we forgot about.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just all I know is I'm gonna be looking around maybe 205 or the other 200, see if we can see Kondo in disguise somewhere, and with
Like Bobby Valentine, just
yeah, exactly, or with a little earbud in and microphone to chat, communicate with McKay. So
I guess we should say if Kana would like my second season ticket, I'm sure my wife will allow that. He can come hang out with us. He'll learn a lot from Kevin, especially yelling in 205. But come join us in 205, Coach. It's the best view in the house.
Yeah, we can show him some. You can show him some tactical ideas, right? I'll show him some tactical. You can show him some Arteta clips, and I'll find some Villa clips on set pieces. You can find some our Arsenal clips on set pieces. We'll have a good time.
I'm sure he'd love that. I'll bring a whiteboard just in case.
Good call.
I like this theory from Jason. He's going to go as the Chick-fil-A cow. That would be very funny. That would be very funny. Another thing that'd be very funny is if Kano partook in like the halftime stuff. Like if he did the crossbar challenge and all the other things that they do, that would also be very funny. So yeah, Kano, have a day out. Enjoy it. Hopefully it doesn't impact the game too much, but I hope you have some fun. Yeah, Andrew, any thoughts there?
Honestly, I have no idea what the impact is going to be. Like, he's very, very vocal on the sidelines, but we've also heard him be very vocal at telling them to speed up play or do certain things, and then they don't do it. So he is vocal, but how much does that really resonate with in terms of adjustments on the field? If the good point by Matt in terms of what those substitutions are, like, there's a lot of communication needs to happen. I don't know what the flow of that communication is with him not there. Does that make it more difficult? Do things become simplified? I am curious to see what substitutions McKay will make, but I think to a large degree, they probably have a pretty good idea of who they want to put in when based on what the game flow looks like. So a lot of this will probably be pretty prescripted by Kano going into the match, so it's hard to know what kind of adjustment. Kano's also in the air a lot with the different officials, and I have no idea how much of an impact that actually makes, but McKay seems more like I'm a reserve guy. So maybe there's a couple extra calls that don't go our way because they're not getting heat from Kano on the sideline, but I think that's all pretty marginal stuff. I don't expect there to be a big change, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, real quick on McKay, you're right. I think like if I remember correctly, like second half of that Portland game, he was just kind of I didn't really hear him. I don't even know if he got up out of his. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess we were kind of controlling that game, obviously, so maybe he didn't really have to. So it'll be interesting to see how animated or not animated he gets during this game because it being a big
It was
derby,
quite
big
surprised too, right? Like
Yeah.
it's that we're coming out of the players' tunnel at halftime, and then next thing you know, he's the guy that's on the sideline. So
Right,
with
he
the heat to
didn't.
compare, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't know actually. I think I'm pretty sure he said in the press conference after the game because Kano wasn't allowed to do it since he had gotten the red card or the 2 yellows. I'm pretty sure Dan McKay was like, "Yeah, I didn't really know. I came out ahead of him to see if Portland made any subs, and then I kind of turned around and Kano wasn't there. So he didn't even know what happened until he got there because I think what happened was Kano got one going into halftime and then coming out of halftime. So he was, I think, talking about like the speed of play. Talked to the ref. The ref was like, gave him a yellow, and then Kano coming back was like, "Hey, remember our conversation?" And the ref's like, "Remember I gave you a yellow? Here's another one." And then he got sent off. But yeah, I'm curious. That's a good thing to watch. We have a great view of the sideline from 205. Anyway, we're pretty much right behind Kano and all of them. So yeah, well, I'll be keeping an eye out for that. See how McKay does. Maybe throw that in the Riptide report. See how McKay does.
Coach, again, if you wanna sit in 205, just slide into DMs. We'll get you sorted there.
Absolutely.
But all right, 2 more. I have one idea, and then I have kind of one big question for you guys before we jump into the socials. My idea, I think I have a fix for the team. We need to switch up the fact that we're not attacking to the Defiance end in the second half. I genuinely have no idea why they always want to go the opposite way with Defiance behind them in the second half.
Has that gone into, and so when they do the I'm assuming they do like a coin toss or something, they're choosing sides, right? But it always feels like they're attacking away from Defiance to start the match. Does that happen every game, or am I just misremembering?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
I feel like very confident that I like almost like every match I've gone to plus the ones I've I feel like it's like at least 90% have gone like the max seed game winner in North Carolina, which I was not there for, was scored at the non-Defiance end.
Yeah, that's true. I do like that idea.
Definitely was. Yeah, I think I don't know if they're trying to rattle the opposition goalie like from the beginning and
rattle in the second half.
Yeah, true. But having Defiance get on them. But then I guess you're right because in second half they get a reprieve from that, right? And they're on the other side, so they don't have to. I'm sure this fans
was much better. I mean, we didn't have any shots on goal in the first half, but
right. I know. When JJ came on, so we all know we got going. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's fans in what 130. Well, I don't know whatever section it is behind the other goal, 130 something, that are yelling at them, but obviously nowhere near the same as Defiance. So yeah,
the drums and have all the fun stuff. The thing is, like, right, like, isn't Liverpool's whole thing is they attack the cop end in the second half, whatever it is, and it's their superpower, whatever.
It's also like if you're scoring a late goal that changes the result, don't you want that to be in front of your fans and having that like TV moment of them right in front of their group? So
yeah, that's true. That's true too.
All right, that was my one big idea on the night. I did, as people now realize, I have not prepared slides because it is hard to put slides together that just keep saying the same thing of we just can't fucking score goals.
Right.
But all right, so my one big question for you guys now that my idea is through is, Andrew, I'll start with you on here. So we're now, I can't remember the amount of games left, but we're in like the very low teens.
13 left.
13 left.
Yeah.
13 left. What is your expectation for the remainder of the USL Championship season? We'll keep there because we are going to, obviously we're playing Hartford in the Jägermeister Cup, just to be clear of why that's happening. And we will talk Jägermeister next week.
My expectation, their schedule isn't favorable. I don't know. Kevin went through that in his space the other night, kind of going through the remaining games that we have, even at home. Like it's a tough
that like deeply bummed me out.
Yeah. So I've been thinking all season that they're going to get better. And I've run out of reasons to think that aside from now seeing JJ and Hugo. And that is, like we talked about earlier, the last glimmer of hope that I have. So if they do end up becoming what we think they should be, then I can see them getting into one of those last playoff spots and then probably losing in the first round. Like that would be my expectation. Like I think they're going to fight for, they're going to be in the mix in that like 7 to 10 range in seeding. I think they'll sneak into one of those last spots and then probably lose by a couple goals in the first round.
Yes, actually, and before Matt hands you go, Matthew Jean, there is a coin flip to decide which team attacks which half, which is true. It just seems like we had to have won at least one or two of those.
Yeah.
Or we've had to at least had the decision in our hands, is what I will say. But you are correct. And Tide Talk blogger Timmy Sclafani says, I'm thinking probably championship for us. So whatever drugs they have Timmy on for his chin, please share it, Timmy. But Matt Hands, what do you think about the rest of the championship season?
Yeah, it's tough. I'm kind of with
Timmy.
No. I wish I was on what Timmy's on. No, I'm with Andrew in that, like, you know, I think I've been kind of looking for this team to turn things around, and I wrote about this, I think, in the pre-match, that like you've had these moments where, at least, you know, putting the performance and analysis of the game on to the side, we had good vibes after beating North Carolina for the first home win, and after beating, I mean, before that, I guess, after beating Westchester, because a lot of us were there. And, you know, like the Portland win and whatever, we've had these kind of these good vibes, and then it's always kind of come back down. And this was a game that I was hoping was, like, to me, it seemed like the final chance of, like, now we're going to get going. And it just hasn't happened. And yeah, there's not much of a reason to believe it's going to happen. And look, like, I keep going back to blogs, but I did say some of this in Riptide Report. But, you know, I think I'm kind of beyond the point.
italkri.com, folks.
Yeah.
It comes out sometimes before the final whistle. It's quick.
Well, we're on a Tide Talk thing. I can
Oh no, plug away.
Pump my own plug away. Yeah. No, but I think I'm kind of past the point now of, like, oh, like, we saw some encouraging things. That's like, of course I'm happy we got some encouraging things, particularly Hugo and also you know, JJ coming back and all that stuff. Yeah, Timmy's right. It doesn't feel good anymore. You know, I'm kind of past the point of, like, that stuff giving me too much hope, because we've seen a couple of glimmers of hope you know, through the season, and then it just kind of falls back and takes 2 steps backwards, like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And, you know, so to finally answer your question, I think we're going to yeah, like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of with Andrew.
Ball out. Let's see it.
Yeah.
From your other thing you write on TideTalk,
right? You know, they mentioned this on the broadcast, but, you know, you're running out of time to kind of get things going and get in those playoff spots. But the way the Eastern Conference is, you're still not that far off from a playoff spot. I think obviously a home playoff game is way out of the question unless you all magically start winning every game or, like, completely have a miraculous, like, big winning streak. But I think there is still time to maybe again sneak into, like, a 7 or an 8 seed. But in that case, you're going to be going to Louisville or to Charleston in all likelihood. And sure, we beat them both in the postseason last year, but I feel like we caught them off guard more there than anything else. And, you know, that was an amazing accomplishment, and that's going to be really hard to duplicate and try to do again. So probably we best hope is we're a team that people don't want to play when we make the playoff, if we make the playoffs. But I still don't see us going at this point. I don't have any optimism of going far in those playoffs if we make them. Probably a first round exit, like Andrew said.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just to look at the playoff picture quick, and we just as a shout out, I think I've said the word TideTalkRI.com 12 times in the past couple of minutes, but we will bring our playoff picture tracker back. Timmy is in the lab cooking that back up, which was an awesome resource last year. But listen, the vibes are bad, right? We are currently 17 games in on 17 points, averaging a goal a game. However, like I think at this point, we'd probably want to be targeting the 6th seed to get away from Charleston and Louisville in that first round. Detroit's only 4 points ahead of us there. They're not playing well. We do have a 6-pointer coming up in our next league game there. So I think that will really go a long way of kind of like, where does this team end up? As we know, rip off a couple wins and a couple losses go our way, we're right up in the mix in that, 5 area here. But it's kind of now or never. The team needs to really start figuring this out. It's obviously tough to look at the top of the table where you have Charleston and Louisville on 38 and 41 points respectively, which is a lot more than our 17. I'm not going to do the math live on air, but there's still hope of both playoffs and maybe not home, but being in the mix in that kind of mid-table area. But again, it has to start happening now. It looks like Martin got his 205 legend got his hand on whatever Timmy's been having tonight, saying, I can't help it. I'm feeling a change is coming. I really believe that. Martin, I really, really, really hope you are right. All right,
the table does highlight that there's plenty to play for. Like we're not far away from getting even the 5 seed. It's just what we're seeing on the field doesn't like any reason to believe we're going to get there, but it's totally doable.
I didn't want to say it, but the 4 seed is like in play. It's in play, but not the way we're playing right now. I want to be so clear. I do not expect that in the slightest, but like that is how compressed the table is. And again, if a run of results goes our way, who knows? But it has to start changing now. Like there's no positive data I'm going to bring up that shows like, oh, it was always in us. Like, no, we've been playing as bad as you all think we've been playing, as the results say, as we are all witnessing with our eyeballs. So, that's not happening if we're playing the way we play right now. We're not making the playoffs. Like there's a very also strong possibility of that. It's just I think we all do believe there is something in this team that we have seen that should do a lot better than this.
Yeah, if I can add in really quick, and I know I just went on along,
Actually, really quickly, if you are still watching, smash that like button.
Absolutely,
you're a hero. It's been an hour and a half, and we are almost at your socials. But please smash that like button. It is awesome for YouTube to show Tide Talk to more people. But Matt, hands back to you.
Yeah, just gonna say, I think this was a great comment. But first, I think it was, I think it shows like the disappointment in how disappointing the start of the season's been, or the first, not even start, into the second half now. Because I think a lot of us coming into the year were thinking you're bringing everyone back, you're going to be competing for 3rd or 4th, maybe. Obviously we weren't delusional to think we're going to overtake Charleston and Louisville. Maybe some of us were. I wasn't. But
someone's preseason prediction might have said that.
Well, no, but I definitely thought like bringing everyone back and adding Maxey and just on paper seemed like, hey, we're going to hit the ground running this season, and it's not going to be like last year where we're starting out slowly. And so the fact that at this point in the year we're still thinking like, man, we still haven't figured it out, and we're not up there competing with those teams. We're competing with teams that, I mean, at least from our perspective and looking at the roster, we should be better than like player wise on paper. Obviously that doesn't win you anything. It's what you do on the field, but I think that's the most disappointing thing. But I think like Martin was saying with that comment, like we have the players to do it, and we have the quality. We just got to get the goals going. And I know we didn't do any slides, but we were tossing around some lineups, working on stuff to send to Takano once he comes to 205 next week to show him. We're gonna print some stuff out to show.
I'll bring the iPad. have Canva ready to go just in case.
Right. Exactly. Or old school, just print out some stuff and show them what we think.
I own a printer. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. But no, we were thinking this. How to get this team going. I think they mentioned on the broadcast trying to get Noah and they talked to Kano about, hey, do you think you can get Noah, Maxey, JJ, and Dequa on the field all at the same time? And I think you got to, health permitting, you got to try. Like there's too much talent there to be playing this poorly, and I think if it continues this way, questions need to be asked. But I don't know. We got the talent. They got to do it. I feel like I say this all the time, every blog, every time I'm on here. But we got the talent. You got to do it.
Absolutely. Well said. All right, so we will kick over to the socials here, and we will start with let's start on Twitter here. We only got one, or we got two. We got our friend Fluffy Cahog Boy here. RIFC in 3, just not good. Is good, Amos, better, Hugo, best, JJ. Then a second whack at this. Good, Amos, JJ, and Hugo. Bad, Rio and Kuzera on the same side. Worse, coaching decisions. We covered the coaching decisions, and I think earlier we did talk a bit about the Rio switching sides. Personally, I think it's just really hard for a right footer to play on the outside and to get the ball up the wing. But I think I've talked about that a lot in the past here. We also did have Our fearless leader, Matt K401 here, with terrible Derby performance, which I think sums it up nicely here. On Instagram, we had Terrace here with RIFC in 3. What was that? Then we have RIFC in 3 from Booth Hill Brewing, Stuck in Purgatory, which is a very good one. Good, JJ making the team actually seem dangerous at times in the final third. Bad, another sloppy, clunky game in which they could not score. Ugly, in the words of the old Colts coach, playoffs. I should have did it. Let me restart that one. Playoffs. Are you kidding me? Playoffs. I just hope we can win a game. So shout out to Booth Hill Brewing, a secret, not secret, but a ball knower who I have absolutely no idea who you actually are. So please say hi. And then in the Defiance Discord here, we have a good friend, Leo O here. Good, Hugo shining through all the darkness regardless of his position. Bad inability to get one past a less than stellar defense outside of Siaha, and ugly full-time antics from all sides in a nationally televised game. RIFC in 3, dark arts debacle. Then we had Martin here. Good, JJ and Hugo almost made a difference, and the atmosphere was on fire. Bad, failing to win at home again. Ugly, our team had the chance to show on national TV what RIFC is all about and failed miserably. RIFC change is coming, and I think that was the hope that Martin was kind of showing throughout here. But yeah, thank you as always, everybody who wrote in on this one. I think there's it was a very draining night and a very draining experience for a lot of people. So a little bit less than normal there, but yeah, I mean. Next week, we do have Hartford back at home in the Jägermeister Cup. This will be a night game, so a little bit different there. But yeah, Matt, let's start with you, Matt. Any last thoughts on this one before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. I think it's other than that, it's got me more fired up, especially watching the game back as much as I did. It's got me more fired up for it's got me more fired up for Saturday. Siaha is likely going to start because I did go back and check if Hartford was rotating the goalie for Jaeger, and they haven't.
Do you think their coach at this point could not play him? I think he has to play.
No, I think he does have to play. I mean, well, he's. I mean, I hate to say it, but he's. I mean, I guess it's a low bar, but he's one of their better players, I would say. So they kind of have to play him. He saved them. He saved their ass a bunch this season. So, yeah. So I'm sure he'll get a great welcome. Yeah, Jason's right. Hopefully we can act like adults next week. Look, boo him all game long. Just don't be an idiot, and that's all that has to be said about that. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to it. Looking forward to see if Hugo and gets a start. If JJ, I think you start JJ with Dequa, and just say screw it, take JJ off early if you have to. But get stuff going. Gotta do something. But yeah. Excited for the next game. That's really all I can say about this one. It got me excited. I was hoping to be excited about the result. I'm not, but I'm excited for the next game and to see hopefully more of Hugo and JJ, and hopefully see us get something going. And hopefully, Barton's correct, and we finally turned around.
What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm just sad about the game yesterday, but I'm excited to see what next week brings. I mean, I didn't get a chance to answer the question about does this rivalry need it. The analogy sorry. I can think of, no, all good. The analogy I can think of is the Red Sox and Yankees. I mean, for a long time, there was a very heated rivalry, and in those early 2000s, part of the reason it was so heated was because the players just genuinely disliked each other. And then once they all became buddies and the teams weren't really as competitive, or one team was much better than the other, it kind of fizzled away and that juice wasn't there. So the fans can hate each other all they want, but until the players start feeling it, you need more time for a rivalry to build before it's just innate in the players to just be like, I really dislike them. Mm-hmm. So the fact that this is a pretty young rivalry and now there's already juice between the players and they get to come back at it right next week, all right, we got something on our hands, and I'm really curious to see how that plays out, and hopefully that the team gets all the inspiration they need. Now it's not just appeasing 116 in the stadium, but really they want to get their revenge because they were getting shushed and that thing all over them at the end of the game. So excited to see where this goes now.
Well said. So as I mentioned, next Saturday we will be hosting Hartford again for the Jägermeister Cup, where RIFC will look to be topping the group with a draw, which can't really happen, but as long as they get to the penalties, it is a draw there. So that'll wrap things up for this one. Just a reminder that Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Also have to make sure I shout out the blog, which I've done 700 times tonight at tidetalkri.com, where you can find player ratings, pre and post match analysis, and our take on the latest RIFC news. I've been your host, Ryan, and a big thank you to Andrew and Hans for joining me tonight. Most importantly, thank you to everyone who has joined in live and anyone who supports the work that we do. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the tide.
Up the tide.
Up the tide.